Craig Martinez here, and I'm super excited to have a very special guest that I am so pumped up to share with you today. So, who I have here, founder and CEO of Hamlin and Associates, a 9-figure marketing company that has helped thousands of clients earn millions of dollars in revenue. 7-figure philanthropist that sits on the board of directors for the Make-A-Wish Foundation, which is a foundation that fulfills the wishes of children with life-threatening medical conditions. Also have been labeled by many the sales and marketing expert of the automotive industry. My good friend, John Hamlin, thank you for coming by. I appreciate that. I'm so glad to catch you down here in South Florida while you're here on business.
Oh, thanks, glad to be here, man.
Awesome. So John, let's get right into it. You know, you aren't always the founder and CEO of a 9-figure marketing company. You weren't always generating millions of dollars for thousands of clients. Take me back to the beginning. Take us back to the beginning.
How far back?
Take us to your childhood. How was it? Tell us where you were born and how was it growing up as a child?
Well, I grew up partially in Illinois and partially in Portland, Oregon. I spent probably more time in Portland, Oregon than I did anywhere else. You know, we weren't wealthy by any stretch. My mom did what she had to do to make things, you know, work. But you know, we lived in a very small trailer in a trailer park.
Oh wow!
And
I didn't know that.
You know, struggled with school quite a bit. I finally ended up dropping out in 7th grade. I did go back for I think one semester. It was either sophomore or freshman year, but of course that didn't take. So just kind of, you know.
I didn't realize that. I didn't know you were a high school dropout. I am one as well. So congratulations.
Yeah, we got a good club.
I lasted till the 9th grade. You lasted through the 7th. So I beat you by a couple of. Or actually, you might have beat me actually. Yeah, if you look at it that way. Yeah. So wow, a high school dropout. You were raised in a trailer park, as you mentioned. I didn't know that. That's.
I wasn't always in the trailer park, but that's where I have the most of the memories. Wow. I think a very formidable years. And what I mean by that is there was. I'll give you an example. The gentleman that had the nicest trailer in the trailer park was a car salesman.
Oh, okay.
And he had always a pocket full of money, always dated good-looking girls, and drove a nice car, because back then in the car business, you got to drive a car from the dealership, a demo.
Got a demo.
And so, you know, to a 9-year-old, 12-year-old kid, man, that was it.
That's a big deal.
At that point in time, I said, you know, that's what I want to be, a car salesman. That's all I want to be.
So at 11 years old, you wanted to be a car salesman?
Well, I actually was 9, and then we moved away, and then we moved back to the same trailer park. So it gets a little confusing even for me to try to tie those years back together, because it was so long ago. Mm-hmm. But you know, I know I was there when I was 9, and I know I was there when I was 12. And Gary was there as well. And you know, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a car salesman.
So you wanted to be a car salesman. So what was your first job then? Was it in the car business? Were you working at a dealership?
I washed cars at a very, 82nd Avenue in Portland, Oregon, where there's a lot of small used car lots.
Okay.
Some of them were dirt lots. And I washed cars there, and you know, off and on until I got older. And I had an agreement with the guy that owned the car dealership, the car lot, that when I turned 18 years old, he would make a phone call to one of the bigger dealerships and get me a job as a car salesman. And he honored that.
So did you wash cars until you were 18?
Mm-hmm. But off and on. But at the time I turned 18, I think I was washing cars for him part-time, and on my birthday I showed up and said, Sam, you promised.
Time to make that call.
Yeah, and he did. He made a call to a gentleman named Jesse Harris at Mike Sold a Pontiac, and he said, go on down. I went down and I was hired.
So you got the job. I was told that back then in the car business, it wasn't easy to just walk into a car dealership and get a sales job. No, you had to know somebody. You had to have some experience usually. Is that
no,
true?
It's just the opposite.
Oh, really?
At least for Mike Sold a Pontiac, I mean, that was kind of gladiator school. You know, everybody, you know, I got a job. I walked on and had no experience at all. None. And, you know, I got fired in 4 months.
Oh, well, what happened? It didn't work out for you?
Well, you know, anybody that knows the car business will know this to be pretty common. At first you do pretty well, and then you get smart.
Oh, yeah.
And then all of a sudden you don't do so well. And you know, I was going under a lot of bad data. I was told that I would be really good at selling cars because, you know, basically I was a liar. I would do really well at selling cars because, you know, I was full of crap and that I had a line a mile long and all this this, that's what people projected on me. So at that age, that's what I believed about myself and thought that that was what was necessary in order to be successful in this field. And I failed miserably. It wasn't until
Were you actually lying and doing the things that they were?
No, I really
projecting
wasn't.
on?
But
No?
you know what I was? I was in the middle. I didn't know what to do.
Okay. So you were conflicted.
I was zero training and told this, and so somewhere in the middle, all I did was fail.
Wow.
Right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I didn't have a direction, and there wasn't any real training back then. The first training I ever received was from a guy named Jackie Cooper, and
that's where I learned the
way back.
And his 12 tapes. I think it was like 12 cassette tapes, and I remember all of the tactics and the strategies that Jackie Cooper taught on those cassettes were like really shisty type of, little lies and fibs
but
here and
he
there.
also had some good technique. I'll never forget the one thing. When I came back, and this is true of most training today, when I came back from training, my boss said, "What'd you think of that?" I said, "Oh, it was great." He goes, "What'd you learn?" I said, "I don't know, but it was great."
You're pumped up.
Yeah, because he made it comical, he made it fun, but I did walk away with one thing I'll never forget, and I still use it to this day, and that is, the first basis of putting somebody into agreement is nodding your head. It's nice, isn't
That's
it?
right, yeah.
See how you're nodding your head? Right? Okay.
Yeah.
Your mom wears combat boots, doesn't she?
Yeah.
And people will go into agreement. And that was one of the things. He got me 3 times. I was in the front row, and 3 times he had actually done that to me.
And
got me to go into agreement on something that I would have never agreed to.
You find yourself nodding your head.
Absolutely.
You were in agreement.
Absolutely. So to me, he was, wow, this guy's great. And that's when I realized, first off, I'm not a liar, a thief, or cheat. Okay. This didn't fit me. It wasn't who I wanted to be. It wasn't who I really was. And if you want to be good at this, you need to learn it. It's like anything else. And so once I started gaining knowledge of it, that's when things started to happen and things started to be really good.
Yeah, one of the things that you just reminded me of is what I talk about. I have this theory of 7 steps to success. And that first step is getting the knowledge. Like starting off with either get a mentor in the industry that you want to be great at, or get the education, or education, or get a mentor. The knowledge. That's the word I was missing. Getting the knowledge. So if you can get the knowledge, that's the start. And then after that, massive action.
And continuous improvement. I would say that anybody that arrives probably fails right within that year. The year you arrive is the year you'll probably fail in.
Yeah.
So we never stop. Even to this day, we're a very successful company. We're expanding in a lot of different fields, but we don't stop.
Let me go back. So you went and you took the Jackie Cooper training. That was after you got fired from the former job? Several jobs. So did you land at a sales job that you started to find success?
Yes. I'll cut some of the story out. Bottom line was I ended up going back to Illinois, got a job at a dealership there, and that's where I first saw Jackie Cooper.
Oh, okay.
And when I saw that, I realized, wait a minute, I got this backwards. There's technique involved. And it doesn't mean there's conning involved. It means there's technique. You can always work towards yes. There's staying in agreement with people is so important. If you want to get what you want, the level at which you will survive in life, I think will be determined by your ability to get what you want, right?
Yes.
I mean, it'd be a fair statement. So the more I can get what I want, the better I'm going to survive.
That's right.
Correct? So you don't get what you want when you're not in agreement.
So you now, so you went through the Jackie Cooper training. That seems like a life changer for you, in terms of
career-wise.
sales-wise.
It opened my eyes.
It opened you up.
Yeah, it did. It opened my eyes to say, okay, I got to switch course. If I want to do this, and I want to do this, and at that point in time, I really don't have any other options. And let's face it, salespeople are the highest paid people in the country, in the world.
That's right.
Without sales, commerce and everything comes to a screeching halt.
Let me ask you a question. Had you not got that training from Jackie Cooper and that inspiration he was a mentor to you, basically, at that time?
No, I wouldn't say that. I would say he was a good example and it was an eye-opener.
And you got some education from it.
I realized there was more. I realized there was more out there.
Gotcha.
And then I started looking at the other people that were doing it successful, that were doing it long term.
Okay.
And so I said, okay, what are their habits? What are they doing? What are they doing right? Emulate success.
So take me now to the sales job. You had I recall in a conversation that we had earlier, you had a sales job where you actually didn't last there too long, but you found out what direct mail was about. Tell me a little bit about that.
That was in Illinois, same dealership. And working with a guy that's still my friend to this day. I met him when I was 22 years old, and we did some direct mail marketing for the dealership that I worked at, and I did really well with it. I mean, I sold a lot of cars. I sold like 8 cars in one day.
So you sold 8 cars in one day from one direct mail campaign.
Right,
that went
and that is when, you know, he and I, long story short, decided, hey, there was something more to this, and he basically approached me and, you know, said, could we sell this to other dealers? And I said, I think I could.
Now, he is?
Pat O'Reilly.
Pat O'Reilly. And so now Pat O'Reilly, he was your sales manager at the time.
Exactly.
And he's seeing you sell 8 cars in a single day on a direct mail campaign, and he's coming to you saying, we got something here.
Right, and he also then ended up owning the dealerships and grew that, and then owned a marketing company and then sold the dealerships, and then started a company called CMI, which then became Aspen. Okay, which is, you know, just sold for $500 million. So he hit the proverbial long ball.
So you're sales manager turned
Owner.
entrepreneur, owner of a direct mail marketing company.
Exactly.
And sold that company, how many years ago?
About 3 years ago.
3 years ago for
$500 million. He's
$500
actually,
million.
his story is awesome too. He's amazing. He did it more than once. He'd sold the company, bought it back, sold it for like $90 million, bought it back for $35 million.
What a story! And that's your sales manager.
Well, he was
sales
yeah,
manager.
He's one of my dearest friends. Wow. And even when I wanted to set out on my own, he said, you know, he was the one that said, unless you're the lead dog, the view's never going to change. You do what you said you were going to do. You helped me launch this.
So you got into business with him. I don't think we covered that. So
I was working for him.
So you were working for him. You left the car dealership as a salesperson.
Went to work for his marketing
went
company.
to go for his marketing company. You were a believer. You said that there's something
We
here.
elevated the marketing company, and then I said, Pat, I want to go do my own deal, and he even offered to loan me the money to do it.
So how long were you working with him before you decided to go on your own?
Probably a year and a half.
So after a year and a half, you said, I want in. I want to have my own direct mail marketing.
Right.
What was the shift? How did you go from salesperson working for a company to working for someone in a direct mail marketing company that's finding success in a year and a half to, hey, I want to go off and do this on my own? What was the shift? What was going on through your mind? Why did you think you could do that? What made you think you could make that move?
The biggest thing was probably Pat. Pat was very encouraging. I mean, oddly enough, he was very encouraging. Even though we ended up being competitors, you would never know it. Because we stayed really amazingly good friends, and we're amazingly good friends to this day.
Wow, that's powerful. The proximity of those relationships that you have.
And I think Pat also realized that, you know, I had fulfilled my obligation to him. You know, I helped him launch a company successfully, and so he got it. You know,
so now this is when did you start your own
1988.
company? So in 1988, you started your own direct mail company. What was that like? You're off on your own now. You were a salesperson working for someone. You went to work for someone in direct mail. You saw success there. You felt, hey, I could do this on my own. Now you're in it. What was it like the first few months getting that business going in the first year, let's say?
Well, it's hard to remember exactly, but I remember when I first got going, I rented a hotel room for my father, and he owned a small motel, and we had what was called an old secretary's desk, where the secretary sat on one side and you sat on the other side, and Karen, young lady that helped me get it started, I'll never forget. She knew I did not have enough money to make payroll. We cut the checks and she would just put them underneath her desk pad, and you know. It was kind of cool, and then we ended up landing a really big account, our first big one, and it was right around Christmas time, and so you know one of the things I did, you know, of course she cashed all her checks, but one of the other things I did was I bought her a full-length mink and gave it to her.
Really?
You know, and we'd grown really quick after we landed at this rather large client, so we started adding employees and associates, and I gave it to her at the small Christmas party. It was my way.
How did you feel?
It was my way of saying thanks.
How did you feel to be able to do that for her?
How do you think I felt? I felt awesome. It felt great. It felt great to give back to somebody that basically, you know, when you're sitting across from somebody and you know they can't cash that check, but you cut it anyway. That she knows she's the one that's keeping the bucks.
So
and to see her put it underneath her desk pad and stay there and not leave, you know, is her saying, I have faith in you. You're going to make this.
And you hadn't made it yet, but
no, not at all.
She believed.
She did.
So did you? So you're. It's 1988. You're getting into your new business now. Did you have any personal, traumatic challenges along the way?
No, none. See, what he's trying to do is get me to talk about my disease of addiction or my problem with addiction.
Share with
That's
us.
where he's trying to go here.
I'm trying to lead him right there.
He's leading me. No, I have no idea what
So-
you're talking about. I did. I had some relatively good success, and this is the way I see it. 5 o'clock would roll around, I wasn't done. I just made 4 sales, and I'm happy, I'm excited. I don't want to go home, I want to go out. So I went out, and all of a sudden, it was the 80s, everybody was doing cocaine. I started doing cocaine, and it got worse, and it got worse, and then pretty soon, if you want me to fast forward, and I can't give you dates because it gets very, very blurry, but I did become homeless.
Wow.
And was breaking into churches to sleep, and got down to about 130 pounds.
Wow.
I have a lot of friends that died, that didn't make it. I always, and to this day, sometimes struggle with, why did I live? Because so many of them didn't, but I did live. And,
Wow.
And
So how did you, how far into your new business venture did you go through that personal challenge where you're struggling with alcohol and coke?
It's really, Craig, I'm not trained to be evasive, honestly. I really got sober in 2004, got clean and sober in 2004, but I ditched the drugs earlier. When I tell you that it's blurry, it's blurry. I can't put a date with it.
Gotcha.
I can't put a date when I actually put down the coke and the crack and all of that, and then decided I could drink, and that was a mistake too, because let's face it, you don't use the best judgment in the world when you're drunk.
That's right.
And for me, bad judgment means I'm going to go try to find some coke.
Yes.
Make sense?
Yes.
So, the dates are very blurry to me, but, I've honestly been clean and sober for 14 years.
Well, congratulations
The one that I
on
can
that,
call
man.
the honest. Thanks, man.
That's freaking awesome. That really is. So how would you share with someone that maybe has is going through that wants to get out on the other side? Is there something that you can say? I mean, you've made a fortune for yourself, and you've gone through some hell and back, and I know you personally, so I know some of those details. Obviously, we don't need to get into, but in hearing some of those details, it's really impressive. I think it's really inspiring to see for you to go through that, such a tough time in your personal life, and then come out on the other side. What are some of the keys to kind of coming out on the other side for you?
I think first you got to hit a point where you're willing, not necessarily to quit, but willing to surrender. There's a term. Are you familiar with the term foxhole praying?
Yes.
There's no atheists
Yes,
in
I am.
foxholes, and so there were so many times that towards the end that I would just pray, God, get me out of this, and I swear. And it's foxhole praying. It's not sincere. Then there was that one time that I just sincerely just looked up to a God I really didn't understand. There was something that was very relevant to it, and that was that all the other times I used the word God. And I don't know why this is relevant, or even if it is relevant, but it seems relevant to me. There was the one time that I looked up, and for some reason, I have no other reason other than divine intervention, that I said Jesus. I didn't have a relationship with Jesus. I wasn't schooled, I wasn't mentored, I wasn't witnessed to. So I'm in a field, I'm homeless, but life can't get any worse as far as I'm concerned. And the prayer was different. It was Jesus. Why am I saying Jesus?
Wow.
Okay. And it was, I give up. If you'll just show me what to do, I'll do it. I'm done. Just show me what to do, please. So it wasn't get me out of this.
Wow.
It was just show me what to do, I'm done.
And
How do I do this? If you're real, I don't even know if you're real, but if you're real, just anything. Show me how to.
Powerful.
Yeah, it was. 'Cause
And
it was a
you-
different prayer.
And it changed you?
It's some people call it a spiritual experience when you actually feel presence. You feel that intervention. You actually feel it. And I felt something. Matter of fact, I knew myself. And when you're in the throes of addiction, you become a pretty good con man. And the person that you con and lie to the most, well, it's anybody, but yourself as well. So much so, listen to this, Craig. My second prayer, which was immediate, was, Jesus, I felt you. I felt your presence in my life. And this is me in the middle of a field. I'm homeless. And I prayed, my second prayer immediately was, don't let me change what just happened. Because I know me. I know what I'll do. I'll wait a week and I'll say, nah, that wasn't real. No, that really didn't happen. No, I didn't feel anything. I'll justify it out of my life. I'll figure out a way to not have to pay attention to what just happened here, which would give me an excuse to go use, to go do this, to go do that. So the second prayer was, don't ever let me forget that this really happened. Don't let me explain it away. Don't let me con myself into believing that this did not just happen. And to this day, you can see I still very much believe it happened.
You're very passionate about it.
Yeah,
And you feel
it's very real for me.
It's a game changer for you. There was like a shift. Was there like a shift that happened in your life? That was the turning point?
It was an absolute shift. Absolute. It was, like I said, it was so strong that my fear was I was going to somehow lose that. And you know, because time, and all of a sudden, well, maybe I was just, you know, desperate because I was coming. I can think of all kinds of ways I could dismiss what happened. And because of that second prayer, I never dismissed it.
You ever hear of the term we're human beings having a spiritual experience?
Spiritual beings
or
having
spiritual
a human,
beings having a human experience? That's what it sounds like a little bit. You had that spiritual experience,
Indeed.
and it was a game changer for you, and that's awesome. I have a little sort of a joke that I remember. Now, obviously, I come from the car business too. That's how we met in the car business. For those that are watching, and I sold cars as well, like John. I went a little bit of a different path, going into real estate from the car business. There was a joke that one of my sales managers used to say when he couldn't answer a question that I had. And he was one of these hotshot sales managers that always did well for himself. You know, he would wear nice suits and the Rolex watch and the standard business car attire. And when he couldn't answer the question, he would say, if I could answer that question, Craig, I'd be flying around in Lear jets wearing Brioni suits. Well, the reason why I say that is because that's you. You're flying around in Lear jets.
Don't go there.
I don't know if you're wearing Brioni suits, but I did want you to share with those watching. I know that you're a car enthusiast. We could get into the cars and things like that, but you're also a jet enthusiast. Talk a little bit about that and some of the excitement or passion that comes with that. I'm sure the listeners want to hear a little bit about that.
Okay. He knows I don't like talking about it. It's not that I'm ashamed of it. It's not any other reason other than I'll tell you what I really believe about it. If you're not happy before you buy a jet, you won't be happy after you buy one. That's a fact. If you're not happy before you buy a Lamborghini, you won't be happy after you buy one. I remember on both occasions thinking, this is going to be a changer for me. Man, once I buy this car, people are going to look at me different. I'm going to be so cool, and man, this is going to be different. And 2 weeks later, I'm driving down the road in a Lamborghini going, nothing's changed. My first airplane was a King Air, which is a beautiful, beautiful airplane. It's a twin turbo. It's a great airplane. I got in the air in it. I'm thinking, man, I am so cool. I have arrived. And I landed 30 minutes later at West Palm Beach. And when the door opened, there's G5s, there's Falcons, there's BBJs, there's every plane that's nicer than mine. And my pilot at the time puts her hand on my shoulder as I'm standing at the top of the stairs of the King Air, just kind of looking around. She goes, humbling, isn't it? And that's where I'd prefer to leave that. That it's not a, I don't have a jet because I like to travel. I have one because I hate to travel. If that makes sense. And if there's one thing I've learned about success, we all know what it takes to be successful. There's all kinds of books. There's training like what you do. There's examples in the successful people that are in your life. We all know that. But what it does come down to is, what are you willing to do? Think about that. If your competitor is willing to follow up on a customer within 24 hours, you'd better be willing to do it in 8 or 16, or you're gonna better be planning to get beat. And that's where I bought a jet. I wasn't willing to put in the windshield time, but I wanted to be in front of the clients. And so I just said, this is what it's going to cost me. That means I have to be able to bring in X amount of dollars more by being out in front of people. And it worked, because I was in front. I stayed in front of people, and my ego tells me I'm the best foot forward.
Awesome.
So
I love that. I think it's very inspiring to be able to, and when you think about, like, I come from, my background is I started washing cars like you. We have very similar beginnings, I started washing cars myself. I don't know that I would at any point ever thought, hey, I'm here today. I want to be I did want to be a salesperson, by the way, as well, because I knew they were making more money. So I was excited to get the opportunity when I did. I started washing cars at 16, 17, and I got my first sales job at 21. But never would I have thought, maybe, or even would think about maybe flying my own jet. So is that something ever, going that far back, did you ever think that big? Were
No.
there ever those type of
No.
dreams?
So, you know, you just go to work and things start happening. You have faith and things start happening. I'll tell you one that that blows my mind more than that. Okay, and I hate. Part of me doesn't like talking about this because I don't want to come across arrogant. I don't want to talk about things that get too much in the materialistic part of success. But I remember when I was 18 years old in Portland, and Monty Sheldon had the Rolls-Royce dealership there in town. And again, being fired from so many car salesman jobs, hadn't learned how to sell, considered myself a very poor salesman. But you know, I could at least get a dealership to hire me, and I could last for a little while and make a somewhat of a paycheck. And looking at that dealership and seeing those beautiful Rolls Royces and thinking, man, I wonder how good do you have to be able to sell a car like that? I mean, if I could ever get that good to where I could work at a Rolls Royce dealership, you know, what that must be like. Because I bet their commissions are amazing. And think of the clientele that you're working with. And gosh, do they get one of those for a demo? And it was just, I honestly
So it was definitely
remember,
a desire that was there because you were asking yourself those
so
questions.
back to your question of, you know, really your question was, here you are here, and then here you are now, and you know, what happened in between? What happened in between was a lot of work, a lot of trial, a lot of error, and then you can look back and reflect, and more so on, more so than the vehicles and so on, is I reflect on that moment, because I remember sitting there looking at his dealership. And we landed Rolls-Royce as a client in the marketing company. And the president of Rolls-Royce custom built me a car.
Wow.
And he now is the president of Hamlin Associates. I hired him. And now, the part that's amazing is then I go back to thinking about wondering what it'd be like to be able to just work at a Rolls-Royce dealership. And thinking, honestly, I'll never be good enough. Wow. And then today, I mean, look at the change. Now, when did it happen? How did it happen? What happened? I don't know.
It was a lot of work.
It was just time and work and
A lot of energy,
faith
a lot of work and belief.
You know, getting knocked down and winning, because you do both. You know, but I kind of look back on that, and I'm so grateful Eric is now on our team because the guy's amazing. But you know, to get somebody like him to even consider working for, you know, my company, you know, I brought him in, and I think he was thinking, I'm not gonna, you know, John,
Wow.
I like you, you're a great guy, but I took him through. We just built this new office building, and I took him through and showed him the vision, not what we're at, where we are now, but where we are going. And when I saw it, we were on the second floor, and when I started talking about the 2 new companies that we're adding, I saw it in his eyes, Craig. And I could tell he all of a sudden had bought in. And now he's the president of Hamlin Associates.
I got a question from actually a fan that I ran into this week when I told him that we were going to be having this talk. And he wanted to ask you this. He said, what would you say gives you the greatest fulfillment today after having achieved so much in your life? And would you say that you have the same strong, burning desire to achieve new goals in your life?
It's a great question. And yes, but it's how I attain them. And this is probably the best advice I could give anybody, because it's what's really, really true for me. In 2004, I quit working for money. Now, I know there's a lot of guys out there, and you know who they are, that would say, you're out of your mind. Hey, this is what's true for me. This is what worked for me. In 2004, I had a client call, and he was scared. And because he was a general manager of a car dealership, and he had made some mistakes. Long story short, he called up, he says, I need to do something. He said, but you know, I have a feeling if I make any more mistakes or bad decisions, I'm gonna get launched. And I really felt for the guy. And I looked at what he'd done and what I thought we could do, and I said, man, just trust me, you're gonna be okay. Let's do this. And we launched the campaign. Well, he called me on Monday after the campaign was over, and he was like, oh, it was great, the customers loved it, the dealer loved it, I loved it, the salespeople loved it. And my reaction, Craig, was, I went, yes! I'd never done that when I got a check, not once. And it was a revelation to me. It was, wait a minute, this is what motivates me. And I told my COO, I said, look, this is gonna sound silly, but I'm not working for money anymore. And if you think about it, if you work for the success of everybody around you, whether it be an associate or a client, but if your attitude is to make everybody around you as successful as possible, your success is a foregone conclusion.
It's automatic.
And I mean, as the saying goes, you can't help somebody to the top and not get there yourself.
That's right.
All right? But the best part is it's a blast. When you're inside yourself and always working for yourself and trying to get for yourself, there's something about it that's just not as fulfilling as helping other people.
That's right.
And, I just made a decision that's what I was going to do. And so, my suggestion, my advice is probably the opposite of a lot of people out there that are successful. My advice is be of service. I mean, again, I'm gonna refer back to JC, okay? Here's my the apple is usually, I got it blocked by this, but there's usually an apple on the back of it. One of the most powerful insignias in the world. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Right? Donald Trump, arguably the most successful man of our time, right? Hit TV show, billionaire, president of the United States. You can hate his guts, but you can't argue with the man's, the odds of him obtaining those three statuses, I don't think anybody's ever done it before, okay? Reagan came close, but he wasn't a billionaire. Okay, so success leaves clues. Jesus Christ was the most successful person that ever walked the face of the earth. His insignia, the cross, will be around long after the bite out of the apple. Nobody's gonna know who Donald Trump was. And in 20 years?
1,000 years from now?
Yeah, they're not going to know who he was, right? In 2,000 years? Jesus covered about 30 miles.
And
he had what, how many friends? 12? A couple of them kind of stabbed him in the back, right? Mm-hmm. Right? Is that a fair statement?
That's right, fair statement.
Okay, and he's the most popular. And Donald Trump's got a great book. We know some New York Times bestsellers. Nothing outsells the Bible. #1 all-time bestseller. Okay, so now I'm going to get off my high horse, and I'm going to say, okay, never mind that component. What can I take from it? And what I can take from it is, what did he do? He washed people's feet. He was of service.
He was of service, that's right.
Right? And so, whether you believe or don't believe or whatever, success does leave clues. And the scenario I just described is one of being of service. Help somebody else succeed, and you'll succeed yourself. Now, that's what works for me, honestly. May not work for the next guy.
Well, one of the things that I like to talk with my guys back at the office at the real estate business is to always think about adding value, which is being of service. Mm-hmm. Adding value to your clients, adding value to your team members, adding value to your investors. Everyone that you're coming in contact with, always seek to add value, because that value will always come back. Mm-hmm. And I can definitely relate with that feeling, the feeling of knowing that you've helped someone else out, that they're motivated and inspired to be better, to do better, and they're getting results. And you see that those results create confidence in that person. And it covers so much.
It covers so much. Think about this for a second. When you talk about adding value, you've never had a problem with price in your life. This is the biggest misconception in the world. Nobody's ever had a problem. Nobody's ever had a problem with price. Had a problem with value.
That's right.
Once value exceeds price, price is never the issue.
That's right.
So if I can just keep, like you said, just keep bringing value. It's valuable now. Throw more value on it. Just keep hitting it with value. No matter what you do, whether it's working with somebody in your office, working with a client, talking to somebody that cleans your office. It doesn't matter. Bring value.
Viewers, take notes. When value exceeds price.
Price is never an issue.
Price is never an issue. That is that's a powerful statement.
Think about it. All I have to do is I have to exceed the value of that dollar by 1 penny, and you'll exchange with me. People don't trade down, they trade up.
That's right. So, hey, John, you have any favorite business books that you like to share with the viewers? It's one of the questions I like to ask all of those.
Gosh, they're all good. They're all good. I mean, everything from Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich to
one of my favorites.
To Grant Cardone's got some amazing books. I like Sell or Be Sold. The title itself is so real because think about this. A sale is going to happen. The customer's either going to sell you on no, or you're going to sell them on yes. Right?
That's right.
And that was the basis behind that book. 10X is good.
In every conversation, someone is selling and someone's buying, right?
Exactly. And you're either going to sell me that the answer is no, or I'm going to tell you that the answer is yes.
That's right.
I'm either going to build enough value, or you're going to strike down the value.
That's right.
Fair statement?
Absolutely. John, what's next for you? You bought a new office recently. You've expanded. You've actually increased maybe 10x the size of your office.
More than that.
More than that.
Yeah.
So what's next for you? What's the next on the agenda? Any new ventures? Anything exciting?
We've moved, with so much strength into the political space. That's next.
And is that marketing with direct mail marketing?
Yes, and other avenues as well, but direct mail being primary. And I fully anticipate we will knock the cover off the ball. What we were able to do in the last election shocked everybody.
Wow.
And now we're putting it together. We have a political consulting business, and 2020 is going to be exciting.
And as far as your automotive direct mail marketing company is on fire.
Yeah, it's doing great.
I've been hearing about new technology that's constantly you're constantly coming up with new innovative ways to offer up
without
deals to
violating the
clients.
basics.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's where you have your challenges, obviously.
Well, I think there's an onslaught in the car business right now of prejudice. In other words, unless that customer is a pretty little deal wrapped up in a box with a bow on it, I don't want to talk to them. And there's a lot of that going on because we've become so good with data that we could become an electronic version of the salesperson that you and I would fire. The guy that stands out on point and says, "No, she can't buy a car. She doesn't have her husband." People do think that way still to this day. Hard to believe, but it's true. Technology's gotten that way to where I can say, "Wait a minute, this guy's coming out of a lease, and this person's this, and this person's that," and I only want to talk to them. Well, if you ask any car dealer, without the deal that you had to bump the trade $500, without the deal that you TO'd 3 times, without the deal that you worked your butt off for, where would you have been last month? And the answer is I'd be in the red. No. So it's not a reality, but a lot of dealers I think are under this influence now of just going in and cherry picking, and unless it's, like I said, a pretty deal wrapped up in a box. And we fight that every day because we see what it's doing to the car business, not only to the level of training that managers have and what their expectations are, but also to how they market. Again, you got to be willing to market to everybody.
John, what would you tell the listeners that are watching now that may be in a sales position? Maybe they're a sales manager or a general manager, or maybe they're an entrepreneur that's just getting started. Maybe they've had some challenges like you, where you've hit some really hard walls and you've had to regroup, see the light, awaken, and get it back going again. What would you say to that person that's listening to inspire them, to let them know that they can have an opportunity? Do you believe that others can go from where you were at to where you're at now? What would it take? What does it take?
It takes everything we just talked about. It isn't. I get asked that a lot, and almost on several facets. The question usually comes out, what's the one thing?
I know there's more than one, but if you want to share 3,
there's no one thing. Perseverance, is definitely on top of it. Continuous improvement, don't arrive, and faith. Have faith in yourself that you can do this. That if not you, who? If not here, where? If not now, when? If not this, what?
I know that Kaizen in Japanese means continuous improvement. That's one of the policies and core values that Toyota, Lexus have put in place. And look at the company they are today.
There you go. Continuous
improvement. That's great. So, John, tell us where the viewers, if they can connect with you, how would they reach out to you?
On Facebook. I'm not a big Twitter person. I know that everybody says, "Oh, yeah, let me do that." I'm not on a lot of the different social medias. My team is, and I have relinquished a lot of control to my team. But I am on Facebook, and of course you can call Hamlin and Associates.
Hamlin Associates.
888-600-8608. I always take calls. I've got 5 minutes for anybody.
Great.
It's just always been my philosophy.
John Hamlin, you're a great friend, and thank you for taking the time to share this amazing content. I know you're going to inspire a lot of people here. Thanks for viewing this amazing show today with John Hamlin, and we're going to leave the links at the bottom so that you can contact John Hamlin, and thank you very much for watching.
Thanks for having me, buddy.
Right on.